Well, China certainly stirred things up when they unveiled 2 new fighter jets, a new aircraft carrier, and a new AWACS all in one day. And if you're like me asking why all this in one day, well, it turns out this was the 131st birthday of Chairman Mao. So obviously they were celebrating him. We're going to take a look at the fighters they released. We're going to talk about what 6th generation fighters are, and are these 6th gen fighters or not. We'll take a quick look at the aircraft carrier as well as their new AWACS. And this guy right here was the first plane that went flying. And it popped up as China's 6th generation fighter. Well, now they shortly thereafter flew another aircraft, which really more looks like a fighter aircraft. This one now, I think people are coming out and saying this might be the JH-XX. They're basically bomber version, a 6th generation, kind of B-21 Raider, if you will, going forward. Now, the China Defense Ministry hasn't released a public statement, so this is all coming from social media, as well as speculation across news outlets, etc., across the globe. So shortly after this one took flight, another aircraft took flight, and that aircraft is now being called the J-36. It looks more of like a fighter type aircraft, 2 engines versus the 3 engines, which again, we're going to dig into that here in a little bit. So, lot going on. Let's jump into what we know about the first aircraft that went flying just a couple days ago. So kicking off with a video, this is the first 6th generation fighter, or the newest fighter that went flying. Kind of looks like a Dorito, in my opinion. Now this one was accompanied by the J-20. This is out of the Shandong Aircraft Company, so naturally it flew alongside its brother or sister there. One thing of note, which we'll dig into, notice how the speed brakes or the flight control surfaces, at least at the end, are fully extended. I'm assuming that's speed brakes. There are some renderings out there which show that there are 5 flight control surfaces along the trailing edge of both wings. It's tailless, which that is the one thing I think all NGAD, next generation air dominance fighters that are in competition in the US as well as some of our allies, they're all going to be tailless. So this one is tailless, which you reduce some radar cross section, you reduce some signature, as well as you might just need it because you don't have a tail. You need those flight control surfaces to induce yaw, make turns, slow the aircraft down, etc. So, all right, that guy went flying, and then shortly thereafter, the next aircraft was unveiled by China. And this aircraft is now being called J-36 across social media because they just unveiled the J-35 at the Zhuhai Air Show just a few weeks ago. So let's take a look at this one, which is being escorted by a J-16. So this one, there's not that much out there on the internet for this variant flying around, but you can clearly see 2 engines versus the 3 engines, which we'll talk a little bit more here in a bit. And looks more of a fighter-esque size and fighter-type aircraft. So let's jump back into the JHX, the bomber one. So first, taking a look at this one, it does appear, in my humble opinion, that these are possibly additional flight control surfaces, although it's easier to see on the right wing that, again, they might be divided, although they all are symmetrical with no brakes in them at this point. It appears that the outer flight control surfaces are symmetrical and open, which I'm going to make the assumption that these most likely are being utilized as a speed brake. Now, in fly-by-wire modern aircraft outside F-16, but F-35, F-22, no speed brakes. It's going to utilize the flight controls that are available to slow the aircraft down, whatever the pilot's not using. Again, the pilot gets a vote in what they want to do, and then the computers move the flight control surfaces in the most efficient manner. Most likely that is the case here. This one flying along the J-20, which is about 70 feet in length, and that's a large aircraft, also appears to be a very large aircraft. Again, kind of leading towards, if you look, rather large weapons bay, what I'm assuming here. So able to carry large payloads. So thinking more long range strategic strike, as well as the wheels. You can see they're canted here. In my mind, it also kind of looks like a 777 or 767, albeit just single wheeled, not dual wheeled, or an F-18. Basically designed to absorb a lot of weight if you're carrying a lot of gas, a lot of payload. Here's a rendering. Interesting aspect here is intake on the top as well. As you can't see here, but there are 2 intakes on the bottom side of the aircraft. 3 exhaust ports. By exhaust ports, I mean exhaust. So a couple things this could be. One, there's speculation that, hey, you need 3 engines because this is a heavy aircraft. You need 3 engines able to get from point A to point B and carry all this payload. That is one assumption, and maybe valid or invalid. Interesting that you would not have, or you have the 3rd intake on top of the aircraft. This plane might be able to achieve hypersonic speeds, and maybe you need a ramjet or a scramjet in order to go into high altitude, high speed regimes. Time will tell. So that is an interesting design concept. There's the back end. Again, rendering here, I'm assuming this came off of what people are seeing on social media. where it appears to be 5 separate flight control surfaces. And when it was flying around, it had the outer 2 on each wing fully deployed. Again, kind of thinking speed brake, that's what it looked like. And they didn't look like they were deflecting, i.e. making any control movement. So again, trying to slow the aircraft down or maintain speed there. No tail, right? So having the different flight control surfaces might mean smaller movements. So again, reducing radar cross section and movements, as well as the required maneuverability having no tail in order to be able to do yaw and make the changes there. So interesting design concept with that. Now over to the J-36, or again, what people are calling it. Again, this was escorted by the J-16 out of the Shenyang Aircraft Corporation, which was unveiled as the second aircraft on that day. This one, again, looks more maneuverable, more of a fighter type platform. So this might be more towards that 6th generation fighter aircraft. Now, what is a 6th generation fighter aircraft? Remember, the term 5th generation was a marketing term created by Lockheed to market the F-22. So you needed something to create, a need for the next demand, which really was sensor fusion and advanced avionics, et cetera, and stealth capability for the F-22. Now the 6th generation, that is the term, hey, what is the next variation? What does it need? So I think some terms that are kind of agreed upon universally. One, it could be piloted or non-piloted, a hybrid cockpit, if you will. Low observable with advanced avionics, and able to utilize artificial intelligence as well as collaborative wingmen to go out there and fight. So are these 6th generation aircraft and fighters? Well, time will tell. We do see that it does appear to be a low radar cross section. They've incorporated stealth elements, so it would check that box. But really the piece, what would make it a 6th generation fighter, or at least as the United States and our allies go out there and procure and develop these planes, would be, can it utilize artificial intelligence? Can it do collaborative thinking and working with autonomous wingmen? Those type things. Nonetheless, it is impressive. They've rolled out 2 advanced aircraft in a matter, or really 3 advanced aircraft in a matter of just a few weeks. So nothing to bat an eye at. Next, China rolled out their latest and greatest airborne control platform, which is the KJ-3000, based on the Y-20 body. Obviously increasing range and endurance. It is the quarterback when it comes to an air-to-air fight or engagement, tracking enemy fighters, coordinating missile strikes, etc. So this one incorporates an advanced AESA radar, allowing to have 360-degree coverage, capable of targeting dozens of targets simultaneously, and crucial when it comes to running an air war. China also unveiled their newest aircraft carrier. This is rumored to be a Type 4, which is not just another ship. I mean, it's a floating fortress. It incorporates an electromagnetic catapult system like we see on modern U.S. aircraft carriers today. In theory, able to launch stealth fighter aircraft, and drones much more efficiently and faster than ever before, as well as an advanced deck design capable of supporting next generation fighters. The last few days definitely have shown that China is a powerhouse. They have been a powerhouse, and it's not something to be taken lightly if you're talking about near peer adversaries. The ability to roll out 3 new aircraft and advanced aircraft. Now, we don't know what the internal guts of those planes are and what the capabilities of them are, which is the true mark of a modern fighter these days, as well as the ability to produce them, maintain them, fly them, etc. There's a whole host of issues that come along with it. But again, it shouldn't be scoffed. Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.